boy, tell him he can take the freeway down. Run, run, Rudolph, reeling like a merry-go-round.
Welcome back to our daily show on this 18th day of December. Madison County State's Attorney Tom Haine in the studio. How are we doing, man?
Great to be here. I love your Christmas decor. You got the nativity set. You got Father Christmas. This is beautiful.
I'm getting excited. You know, we're going to the Christmas party today, so I got my best Clark Griswold impression for when the bonus comes. You know, like I'm ready for it. I got the pool all ready to go. You know,
the office Christmas party. Oh, where all the personal drama comes out.
That's right. Well, you know, Tom, you guys have had a really busy year, and on the show we talk about it. You know, every day, talking about whether it's crime being reported, trials coming to a conclusion, and it seems like seriously the state's attorney's office had a little bit of everything this year, from cold cases to just regular everyday crime, and then a little bit outside of that, kind of just dealing with the new way of doing things.
Right.
How do you guys think you kind of handled it this year, just right off the bat?
Look, I think we've done as good of a job as we could do. I think we have a really good team. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing is it's a team effort. And in a county as large as ours, we're in the top 8 counties in the entire state.
Wow.
We're the largest county south of the collar counties.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so we have probably the biggest prosecution office south of the Chicagoland region. Wow. And that just means we have, I can't do it myself, not even close. I mean, we have a team of 60 people that works every day to make sure that we have a safer community. Wow. And so it's really a big effort, and it takes everybody working together. And I think we've really done a good job. I think, I was going through the last 4 years, actually, but every year I also go through the last year. I issue an annual report to the county board. I actually brought a copy for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Review it.
Man, I feel good. Thank you.
Make sure our finances are in order. But we issue an annual report because we care about telling the community what's going on. In fact, I have it posted on our website. Every annual report. I've done one the last 3 years, and I'll do one again this year. But, there's never been a time period, a 4-year period, that I can find in the history books where we have successfully prosecuted as many felony crimes as the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Never. So we've been setting records. We've also never charged as many cases as we've charged over the last 4 years.
Really?
Ever.
Wow.
So I think we are, and again, that's thousands of cases.
Right.
We charge over 3,000 cases every year. That's just the felony cases. So
that doesn't even include,
traffic, misdemeanor, doesn't even include them. We have many thousands more of those.
Right, I'm sure.
And so this kind of volume takes a huge effort. And we have a fantastic team. We have a fantastic team of supervisors, line attorneys, new attorneys, support staff. And, we're working with great law enforcement. Sheriff Connor's a wonderful sheriff. He's probably the best sheriff in the state of Illinois, I think. We are privileged to have people like him. You got Jarrett Ford and Alton just doing a fantastic job. You got Granite City, Collinsville, Wood River. These are great law enforcement agencies that we're working with. And that team effort, I think we're seeing results, and I think we're doing as well as we can. I think we're having a lot of success.
Well, and honestly, it's a good point you bring up, too, with all those different, jurisdictions in different towns, because I always say Alton's kind of like a town made up of 7 islands with the wards, and we're all kind of, but Madison County really is that, because every town has its own landscape and its own domain and its own history. And, whenever you kind of talk about it in that way where you're covering, these towns and you're working with these police chiefs, even though it's different, layouts, different people, are the core values and those core goals pretty much the same throughout the entire county?
Yes. So we prosecute crimes from 28 different law enforcement agencies. So, a lot of different towns have their own law enforcement police departments, but we also bring in cases from Illinois State Police, sometimes from federal agencies, and so the Sheriff's Department. So we coordinate every day with law enforcement across the county. And we have a very united law enforcement community. We have meetings with the chiefs routinely that I attend, or my office attends. We have constant communication regarding potential cases, charges. And then once the cases are charged and we have to bring them to trial, we have constant communication with the law enforcement agencies. And so we're really privileged to have a smooth coordination between all those agencies, and that kind of interaction results in, for example, the recent cold case murder that we were successful in convicting Roger Sutton of the murder of Patrina Butler, and that was 10 years ago.
Right.
And so what happened in that case is kind of extraordinary, because I always tell people, in order to have a successful, safe community, you need 3 things. you need to have the report of the crime, you need to have the investigation of the crime, and then you need to have the successful prosecution. In order to have the initial report, you have to have trust in the community that if you report a crime, it will be investigated and successfully prosecuted. If people have the experience of reporting a crime and then seeing nothing happen to that person who they know victimized them, they just won't report it. And so the initial report is this undervalued part of the law enforcement apparatus because it shows trust by the community in the law enforcement and then ultimately in my office to bring justice. And so in the Roger Sutton case, that was a 10-year-old case where a key witness, his nephew, decided he could not live with himself anymore because he saw Christmas ads around this time of year. He saw Christmas ads on TV. He had gotten his life cleaned up. He had been, a drug addict and had been homeless for a while, and so was going through a lot. He had gotten his life cleaned up. He had gotten clean. And then he saw Christmas ads talking about the value of family. And he remembered 10 years prior observing his uncle kill Patrina Butler Turner. And so I think that his decision based off of that emotional, realization that he couldn't live with himself anymore, he just walked into the Pontoon Beach Police Department.
Really?
He just walked in and he said, I want to report a murder. And then when he walked in to report that murder, that decision to do that took trust in that law enforcement agency to actually do something about it.
Right.
Because had he not had that trust, he would never have reported it. So once he reported it, that started the investigation. They did a fantastic investigation, coordinating with a lot of outside agencies, Granite City, the Sheriff's Department, and brought us a case that we could prosecute, and we were successful in obtaining a first-degree murder conviction. And so her family now has the closure. For 10 years, they didn't know what happened to her, and now they know, tragically, but they also know that the person who victimized her, who murdered her, is going to spend. He'll be in his 90s when he gets out of prison. So I think that that's a good example of the community trust that's necessary, and that takes time.
Right.
That takes a lot of time. It's
true.
Easily broken too. If you have a situation where over a period of years the community has an experience of not seeing justice done in cases, they will not report the crime. It's hard to rebuild that trust. So.
Well, because it becomes a fact of the matter of, why am I wasting my time?
Why am I wasting my time?
Right.
Yes, and then that's really hard to undo. That it's really a culture.
Yeah.
And I think we have a culture in Madison County of trusting and reporting crime. And I would just encourage anybody watching this, if there's one thing you can do to increase our community safety, it's to report crimes when you see those crimes and to not assume somebody else will do so. Take the time. It's a true public service to report that crime to law enforcement. It takes time. It puts yourself on the line, right? But without that report, we can do nothing. With that report, we can really help your community. And so that's one of my main messages to people. Bring us the case so that we can bring justice.
You aren't going to know the problem if you don't know it exists.
Exactly.
And on top of that, too, I think, policing and being part of the community and that trust goes a lot further, too, because, I have Centerstone on twice a month, and we talk about substance use disorder treatments, but also, seeing how the county and some of the judges and just, some of the state's attorney's office, some of those programs to really help those folks that want the help, that want to really get on that fast track to maybe, turning that life around quicker. Can we talk a little bit about some of those programs?
Absolutely. So, I tell you, one of the most moving events you can attend, and you should come sometime. Perhaps you've been there. Is the drug court graduation?
No, I haven't been. I've always wanted to go to see.
You should go. It's an incredibly moving experience. So Madison County, I think, has one of the first drug courts
really
in the state.
Wow.
Yes, and it has multiple tracks. You have multiple people at different levels of offending, but the reason why they are there is because they have been faced with a choice. Do I face prosecution and conviction or potential jail time, or do I want to get my life clean? And that clarity allows them to suddenly get their life on track.
Yeah.
And they'll tell their stories. They'll stand up at the drug court. It will be filled with friends and family. It will be filled with the police officers who arrested them, sometimes dozens of times.
I'm sure,
over a period of years. The police officers will be there in the courtroom. Judge Knapp typically runs drug court, but Judge Schrader is there sometimes as well. They will go through the before and after picture, the mugshot of the person when they were arrested, and then the present day person. It's night and day. And I think this is a great example of how, sometimes too much mercy can actually be unmerciful.
Yeah.
And that they needed to have the strength of the criminal justice system forcing them to get their life on track. You'll have their kids there, their significant other there, their mother, their father there. And they're so thankful. They will thank the court for strictly applying the sentences. They will thank the police officers for arresting them, because they'll realize that, and they'll say time and time again, this process saved my life.
Right. Well, and see, that's the thing, because life's not about giving things to you, and getting those handouts and participation trophy rant aside, it's about really putting that effort in. And what I think is so important about the drug court is you're rebuilding families.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just, that individual. You're rebuilding that mother that for 12 years or 15 years was probably in the tumultuous battle of a lifetime mentally trying to take care of the children. I mean, it's really important stuff.
It's a horrible experience to be addicted to drugs. And I think that they will tell you it's a demon. And I think it requires the strength of the entire system, providing that extra reason to actually get clean. That's just one example. I mean, one thing about being a prosecutor is that you never have to take a case you don't believe in.
That's a good point.
So we have discretion. So, we prosecute 4,000 felonies per year, but we never have to move forward on a case that we don't believe in. Mm-hmm. And you always are dealing with the individual. And so we have a pretty strict line when it comes to violent crime, and repeat crimes.
Right.
Repeat incorrigible offenders who are just out there committing crimes. Right. You see them in your neighborhood. You know who they are. We'd appreciate it if you reported them to the police, because honestly, those individuals just need to be removed from your neighborhood so they don't victimize other people. But we also believe in second chances.
Mm-hmm. True.
And I think those nonviolent offenders, those first-time offenders, those are the cases where you can really apply that discretion, and that requires the humanity of the prosecutor. And I think that we have a great team that strictly applies that violent crime line, that makes sure that we are obtaining 60-year sentences, 70-year sentences, life sentences, to make sure that these people are never going to victimize other people, but also are looking at the humanity of each individual case and are providing second chances to those first-time offenders or nonviolent offenders.
When I was over on the radio, the most fascinating thing I heard is that law enforcement officials say is there's a respect, regardless of, who's in what position and who's, maybe facing some consequences for actions, who's not.
Right.
There's always some type of a relationship and respect from that defendant, the suspect, to the police and the is that somewhat, do you believe in that?
Absolutely. And that's the thing that, I'll tell you, the Safety Act, that whole process, the implementation of the Safety Act, there's this academic perspective that just does not understand the nature of criminal justice. Yeah. That they assume that that defendants resent the system. Very often, defendants understand. Right. They are probably the most understanding that they need to be held accountable. And so I think that there is an absolute need for us to fight back against this idea that if you give people infinite chances, they'll just suddenly reform. Right. We have a system of law. We have a system of the rule of law. We have to hold people accountable. And the reason why is the rest of us are living our lives. We deserve, at least for our tax dollars, at least for the fact that we live in a civilized society, we deserve to have safe neighborhoods. I'm talking about everybody. Right. Not just wealthy folks.
No.
And here's the other thing that people don't understand. The impact of soft on crime policies has the most negative impact on the poorest communities.
I was fascinated by that because that's what it really seems like. It does, and that's just subject matter here locally. Absolutely. You don't see the crime surge in Blue Fountain. You're seeing it at Alton Acres.
You know why? There is no the difference between success and failure in those communities is very low. In that they don't have extra funds to hire an ADT security system. They don't have extra funds to have a nice fence around their house. They are living paycheck to paycheck. Many of us are living paycheck to paycheck. And so they don't have the financial wherewithal to provide that buffer of safety between themselves and a dangerous neighborhood. If they live in a dangerous neighborhood, their kids are hearing gunshots. And so I think that ironically, a strong criminal justice system best serves those who live in the poorest communities, because that's their security system. Their security system is the local police, not their own private security or their own security system around their house. So I think there's this misunderstanding that a strong criminal justice system punishes the poorest among us. It's the opposite. And I think that everyone in law enforcement who has worked in this system will tell you that. It's the people who have never worked in the system who have this completely opposite view. And it's frustrating to me.
So do you have a couple minutes to hang out with me? I got to take a quick break, but I want to come back and follow up on that point too, because it does seem like more of these experts are not really experts. It's just kind of a subject matter thing and not really hands-on conversation. You know, with the designing of the Safety Act and so much more. We'll take a quick break because I haven't taken a break in a while. 9:52, we'll come back with the Madison County State's Attorney right after this in the heart of the 618.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready, future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, Free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
When you hear
Oh, I didn't show the gallows. 9:56. Welcome back, Daily Show. Madison County State's Attorney Tom Haine joins us now. And, I kind of feel like a lot of times when we try to have debate and conversation publicly and maybe even with our neighbors and friends, sometimes we don't maybe understand the process in which something works. And not like a patronizing kind of jerky way of saying it, but just because when the statements came out and the law came out, it was kind of confusing.
The Safety Act.
Yeah. And so really, what is the process for this now? How does it change? And what is your guys' formula? If somebody is, picked up, they're facing some charges, what does that look like now?
Yeah. So now, in order to detain anyone, the judge no longer has the discretion to set a variable amount of bond based on the severity of the offense or the person's criminal history or danger to the community or likelihood to reoffend. Those were all reasons why the judge could set, a variety of bond or no bond on a case. Now, it's all up to my office to file a petition to detain. If we don't file a petition to detain, the judge has no discretion to detain that person prior to trial. And so there's a list of crimes in the Safety Act that are detainable. That list changed. There's also a backstory. I mean, we could talk about this.
Right. No,
for
this is like its own weekly show in itself.
There's a backstory. There was an initial version of the Safety Act that was a total disaster, a complete catastrophe. And that was the version of the Safety Act that resulted in a lot of political back and forth during the governor's election.
Was that, not to cut you off from this, but was that when we started seeing maybe some of those violent crime?
Yeah, so the list of non-detainable offenses, there's all sorts of political back and forth.
Gotcha.
The governor even claimed totally falsely that there was no such thing as a non-detainable offense. I mean, there are such things as non-detainable offenses.
I got to use that the next time I get pulled over.
Exactly, yeah. I'll tell you a couple of them. One is car theft, non-detainable, still under the Safety Act. Whoa. So there was lots of misinformation.
Yeah.
Although I hate that term, but in this case,
it's true.
Falsehoods that were bandied about during that governor's election, to be frank. The governor and I have had many differences. I've sued him many times. I say it like I see it. So,
right.
In that case, there was a version of the law that was a complete catastrophe. That was the version that was being attacked and defended during the governor's election. After that election, right before the law was about to go into effect, literally 2 weeks before, January 1st. It was
the lame duck, right?
Yeah, they amended it completely. They said it was a technical amendment. It was a 350-page amendment that totally changed and, in fact, vindicated all of the people who said that original version was a total disaster. So everyone says, oh, no, there's no problems with the Safety Act. It's perfect. It's fantastic. We're going to run for re-election on the Safety Act. We designed it perfectly. Everyone who says it's a problem is a political fearmonger or whatever. And then after the election, you make all the changes that they suggested, and then you declare victory. So I still don't like the Safety Act because it even though they eliminated a lot of like the most insane versions of the original version, they still tied the hands of judges. They tied the hands of prosecutors. They made us go through a huge series of hoops before we detain people that we did not have to do before. And that's basically an unfunded mandate. I have an entire division of my office now dedicated solely to charging and filing petitions to detain. That's several $100,000.
That's what I was curious about, because you have to change course if you have to really. I mean, you're under a microscope now.
We have to file to detain within days, and if we don't, the judge can't hold them. So now we have to do it, and that takes a huge amount of personnel. I mean, several $100,000 of personnel are now dedicated to a process that previously, took one person in our office. So that's an unfunded mandate. That's a real impact. Now, what we do is we file a petition to detain based off public safety. We can only file petitions to detain on detainable offenses. There are such things as non-detainable offenses. And so our initial assessment of when to file a petition to detain is judged by a conversation with the law enforcement. So law enforcement, when they bring us the case to charge, they will identify, we think this person's a danger. And they will bring us the reasons. We don't know.
Right.
Because we're not on the streets.
Right.
So we have to rely on law enforcement, and we have great law enforcement. And so they will bring us an assessment of whether or not this person's a danger and whether or not this person's charged with or will be charged with a detainable offense. And then we will file that petition to detain, and we will bring it before the judges. We've filed hundreds of these over the last year. We win about 80% of these petitions to detain. It's ultimately up to the judge whether or not to detain. The judge is also restricted, though. Previously, under our cash bail system, monetary bail, the judge had a sliding scale of options. He could have a bail of $200 or $200,000, and it would be determined based off an assessment of a degree of risk.
Okay.
Right now, the judge only has one option: detain or not detain. He can also put conditions on release, electronic monitoring, but either way, that person's out of pretrial confinement. It's either detain or not detain, and there's no monetary penalty hanging over their head anymore. So the judges are hamstrung, but they are ultimately the ones that decide whether or not to detain that person. But the initial ability to file to detain is restricted by the Safety Act. So, for example, we had a case where a guy was charged with 4 retail thefts in a row. So we filed,
very consistent.
Very consistent. Every couple of weeks, this guy would go in and steal stuff.
Right.
Up to a felony amount, right? So these are 4 felony retail thefts in a row. We receive all 4 of these charges at the same time. We could not file to detain. because that is a non-detainable offense under the Safety Act. Under the Safety Act, you have to let that person go, and then if he commits another crime, then file to revoke. But he had already committed four crimes. There's no exception for multiple offenses charged at the same time. Similarly with car theft. Car theft under the Safety Act is non-detainable.
See, that's amazing to me.
It's amazing.
Honestly.
Yes, and I think the powers that be in Springfield likely are not going to agree with my political philosophy at this point in time. And so I do think there are some amendments to the Safety Act that would be very helpful, among which is allowing any felony to be detainable. That's not the case. Seems natural. It's not the case. Ultimately, leave it up to the judge, but allow any felony to be detainable. Also, right now, the only reason to detain is based off of an assessment of public safety. Are people in danger? Well, for something like retail theft, are people in danger of repeat retail theft? No, but it's corrosive to society.
Right.
It's corrosive to businesses. It damages communities and neighborhoods. It creates a culture of crime. So I think there ought to be the ability to detain someone for basically likelihood to reoffend.
Right. That's a good point.
And right now, so there are some amendments that we could make that would loosen up the I feel like sometimes we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back. I'd like to have two again. But, in the meantime, we're doing our very best. And that's the process now. We rely on law enforcement, and we are detaining people, and we're detaining serious criminals. We'd like to be able to detain more because we think there needs to be something immediate that happens to someone when they are charged with when they commit a crime that impacts them. Otherwise, there will be no teaching effect that we don't want crime. Right. If you have to wait 2 years before you have any impact on your life, that's not a way.
And to me, I think that victim advocacy goes a long way too. And for that victim, especially when, there was times where I was seeing some domestic cases that I'm going, whoa, how is this even possible? For that victim that goes, hey, I just got, assaulted. I'm going through the trials and tribulations of my life with someone I cared and trusted about.
Right.
And now on a subsequent offense, I can see this individual 500 feet away walk into the store. And to me, it's like, where's the advocacy? Where's protecting all the rights of folks? Because it kind of just seems like we're protecting more of that, the criminal or the suspect's rights more so than that victim that was battered, abused, and that's just me. That's not really putting words in my mouth, just what I'm seeing, reading the news.
I couldn't have said it better. I mean, again, we can only deal with the law that we have.
Right.
We have to do our best, but it is outrageous. Why do people become prosecutors? Because we want to fight for victims of crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is very frustrating when you have a passion for this vocation of prosecution. And this is people across our office. And yet the law prevents you from taking the steps necessary to hold offenders accountable. And you have victims who are coming to you for answers and you have none because you cannot do what you believe is necessary and what they believe is necessary due to the restrictions of the law. Yeah. And I think that's quite frustrating.
Well, and that's why I really wanted to have you on too, because I think as taxpayers and being county citizens, and all, it's good to know that hey, our prosecutors are fighting for us. It's just there's a lot going on, and there's been some success. And I mean, one thing I wanted to talk about before I let you go is because I did flip open the first page and get to glimmer at the numbers a little bit.
Annual report time.
So you were about $200,000 under budget for your general fund. Is that true? So how does that? Are you pretty proud of that number?
We've been under budget every single year I've been in office.
It's incredible. Seriously.
It takes a lot to run a criminal justice system, but I'm a conservative. I think taxpayers need to be protected.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm committed to doing everything possible to make sure that we're under budget every year. And every 4 years of my time as state's attorney, we have been under budget significantly. Wow. And so I think that's helpful because we ask for funds, but then we protect them. And I will tell you a positive note. So
yeah, please.
Whenever you talk about crime, sometimes we can become frustrated with the way that Illinois has set up its criminal justice system, which is totally legitimate, because I am frustrated as well. But I am very optimistic about our local county. Yeah. So we have a big county. We have a dynamic county. We have some pockets of our county that struggle with crime more than others. But we are making real strides. So, for example, in the last 4 years or 3 years, Illinois has seen car thefts in the entirety of Illinois has seen car thefts go up 60%.
Whoa.
In that same period of time, car thefts in Madison County have gone down by 20%.
It's incredible.
So it would be great if they went down by 20%
right
in any year, but when everyone else is experiencing historic highs, and we are actually seeing fewer car thefts. Now, I see that as a real testament to our proactive law enforcement. We have a Cross River Crime Task Force. We have fantastic commanders of that Cross River Crime Task Force. We had Sheriff Connor first. We have now Coroner Nick Navasic second, and now we have Marcos Polito third. They are sending a message that we are a tough on crime community, and I think that is an optimistic view that we are making real impacts, real strides locally.
100%.
That even despite the laws that are coming down from Springfield. And so just imagine what we could do if we had a little help.
True. Well, and then I wanted to close with this because, on top of it all, you guys encompass a lot of individuals from a variety of, crimes and severities. But I think I don't want to say promising. It's good to see the action at work because, keeping kids safe is important.
Right.
And it seems like the last couple of years, and it might be in conjunction with the cyber crime task force with the missing or exploited child crimes against. It just seems like there's more of these cases that are really starting to be, brought up, and these folks are being held accountable that were, really doing and thinking about doing some very terrible things. And so on top of that all, with the violent crimes and the financial crimes and the exploiting and elderly cases that you guys deal with on top of, like trafficking with, cargo and all of that, how do you keep the communication consistent to know, hey, we're taking care of, children's rights. We're taking care of, making sure our highways are safe. What's that communication look like in your office? I got to just know
it's complicated. Yeah. You got to be on your toes.
Right.
Also, you have to really care about fundamental principles. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we always talk about. We have a mission statement. It's on the back of that annual report, and it's all over our office. And so our mission is to focus on first fundamental principles. Mm-hmm. And so when you begin with fundamental principles, what you have is the Constitution. And so our first priority is making sure that we do not violate the Constitution. We make sure that we protect our Second Amendment rights. We make sure that we protect the procedural rights guaranteed by the constitutional provisions and our Bill of Rights. And so I think that's where you start. But then on top of that, you build a system of proactive, aggressive law enforcement, and that deals with just constant improvement. So we're never satisfied. If I come in here next year and I say, hey, car thefts are down 30%, well, I'm disappointed it's not 40%.
Right.
Or also crime ebbs and flows, and so we have to respond to that. It changes. Right now we have a significant meth problem. Mm-hmm. Some years we'll have an uptick in shootings. Right now we also have a juvenile crime issue. That's a totally separate conversation.
That's one because that could be a whole nother hour.
Very concerning. Yeah. But again, we're making progress. So I think you have to be on your toes. You have to keep fundamental principles in mind. You have to keep telling the community we are doing the work. Bring us the facts that allow us to put dangerous criminals behind bars, and just every day work a little harder.
Yeah, so 100%. Yeah. Well, seriously, State's Attorney Tom Haine, thank you so much for stopping by. I always enjoy chatting with you, and you're welcome back anytime.
Hey,
you guys have some shoes to fill though. Hot seat for 50 minutes without any questions sent to them. That's pretty darn good, right there.
50 minutes. Oh man, when you hear it, just feeling the Christmas cheer. We need some eggnog next time.
That's right. Well, seriously, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck as 2025 rolls around the corner, and we'd love to talk more about what you're doing to help the juvenile crime statistics and more whenever you have the time to.
And everybody can go to our website, which is newly designed and hopefully user-friendly, madcosao.gov. And you can find every one of our annual reports. You can go down the list and see exactly how under budget we were every year. And I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions.
Absolutely. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks.
We'll take a quick break on this 18th day of December. We're going to step into a time machine 100 years ago with Lacey McDonald. Well,